It's just another sunny California morning on February 28th, 1997, in the San Fernando Valley region of Los Angeles. Suddenly, a white Chevrolet careens around a corner of the sleepy North Hollywood neighborhood and screeches to a halt outside the Bank of America branch. Two armed men, outfitted in intimidating dark body armor and sinister masks, leap out, lock and load their fully automatic rifles and stride toward the entrance. Over the next 44 minutes, Larry Eugene Phillips Jr. and Emil Decibel Matasareanu will unleash a level of violence the LAPD has never encountered before, igniting one of the most dramatic and devastating gun battles in law enforcement history. This is the story of how two heavily armed robbers unleashed mayhem in Los Angeles in a brazen daylight heist that devolved into an all-out urban war zone. Larry and Emil seemed an unlikely duo of partners to instigate such a rampage. The 30-year-old Phillips was a former motivational speaker and personal trainer turned hardened criminal facing charges of armed robbery. Matasareanu was a 29-year-old mathematical and engineering wizard, an immigrant from Romania trying to live out his twisted version of the American dream gone awry after getting mixed up in shady dealings. Despite their divergent backgrounds, the two men developed an intense bond, steeped in LA's underworld scene and a growing penchant for weapons and violence. They spent months assembling an alarming arsenal of firearms and ammunition for their self-proclaimed final battle with police, including modified fully automatic AK-47 rifles with high-capacity drum magazines and thousands of rounds of hollow point and armor-piercing ammunition. On the morning of the event, the notorious outlaws suited up in improvised full-body armor and set their rampage in motion. The robbery begins just after opening at 9:17 a.m. when the pair stride into the Bank of America branch, clad in makeshift armor and sinister masks. Brandishing their rifles, they fire a burst into the ceiling and order everyone onto the floor, making clear they mean business. The terrified bank employees and patrons instantly comply with the threatening gunmen, but quickly the bandits' plan begins unraveling when a hidden anti-theft dye pack explodes in the bag of stolen cash, spooking the robbers. They frantically gather up the stained money before fleeing outside, already falling behind schedule. Nearby LAPD officers, observing the suspicious scene, call for backup and give chase as the robbers speed away in their getaway car. The bandits barrel through the surrounding residential side streets, trying to lose the growing fleet of squad cars in hot pursuit, sirens wailing. Realizing escape is impossible, the cornered criminals make the fateful decision to initiate one final standoff and shootout rather than be taken alive. The stage is set for a confrontation that will paralyze this Los Angeles neighborhood and embroil hundreds of officers in a terrifying battle. The robbers abruptly skid to a stop along Archwood Street near its intersection with Oxnard Street. They leap from the getaway vehicle for their desperate last stand, locked and loaded for combat with the PD. The first responding officers are stunned by the immense firepower and intimidating armor protecting these perpetrators. It's instantly clear these are not men that will peacefully surrender. The patrolmen scramble for any cover they can find, calling frantically for backup as the heavily armed assailants open fire with their assault rifles. The sudden deafening bang of fully automatic machine gun fire shatters the calm of the sunny morning. Bullets pepper the squad cars and concrete walls, shielding the pinned-down officers. The gunmen slowly advance down the street, spraying non-stop hails of rounds from their AK-47s. The hopelessly outgunned police return fire when opportunities arise, but struggle to even slow the onslaught of these remorseless assailants. Soon the air hangs heavy with sirens and gun smoke. Hundreds of officers and SWAT team members race urgently toward the unfolding chaos. For now, the neighborhood remains at the mercy of these two heavily armed killers. The infamous North Hollywood shootout has begun. The neighborhood morphs into a war zone reminiscent of a battlefield. Standard-issue police handguns and shotguns prove ineffective against the robbers, protected by their improvised body armor and wielding military-grade firepower. Bullets ricochet wildly off concrete, pierce through metal, and nip dangerously at the pinned officers' heels. The perpetrators seem mechanical, methodically proceeding down the street while maintaining a constant torrent of gunfire from their rifles equipped with drum magazines holding dozens of rounds. They relentlessly blaze through hundreds of rounds of ammunition, outgunning the overpowered police. Officers struggle just to get a shot off as they cower against the relentless barrage. As the firefight creeps up and down the once peaceful residential boulevard, catching innocent civilians and bystanders in the crossfire. Nearby, residents run panicked as the battle draws ominously closer to their homes and businesses. Police urgently evacuated many shops and apartments in the area to get bystanders out of harm's way. But the gunmen continue their slow stalk down the middle of the street, shielded by an unrelenting wall of flying lead. Armored SWAT trucks finally roll in, carrying specialized weapons and gear. Teams desperately search for any angle to halt the progress of these entrenched shooters, pinning down scores of officers. The perpetrators seem impossible to stop, even firing at nearby helicopters observing from above. It becomes overwhelmingly clear the standard police armaments are no match for the overwhelming militant firepower of these two criminals. An army of hundreds of law enforcement personnel surround the scene, but remain unable to approach their entrenched adversaries. For 3/4 of an hour, just two perpetrators hold nearly the entire Los Angeles police force at bay in a stunning display of merciless firepower. This devastating shootout leaves deep and lasting scars on the North Hollywood community. In the end, both gunmen make their final stand outside a public storage facility on Saticoy Street, refusing to back down. A barrage of SWAT team rifle fire finally penetrates their improvised body armor, killing both robbers. In the aftermath, the LAPD picks through the battle's aftermath in dismay. Hundreds of shell casings carpet the ground, glittering in the California sun. Patrol vehicles sit scarred and riddled with bullet holes. In total, 12 officers and 8 civilians sustained injuries during the chaos. But miraculously, none were killed. The LAPD realizes its standard armaments and training were vastly outmatched by these two criminals wielding military firepower. Extensive reviews and reforms of equipment guidelines, tactical procedures, and officer training regimens follow. The terror inflicted on North Hollywood spurs California legislators to quickly restrict civilian access to assault weapons and body armor. But controversy also swirls around the aggressive tactics and excessive return fire unleashed by the police in a dense residential zone. In the neighborhood itself, bullet holes and traumatic memories linger for years. This shocking event leaves indelible scars on the city and its police force. The story of Phillips and Matasareanu persists as a cautionary lesson in the annals of American violent crime. The North Hollywood shootout rocked the LAPD and law enforcement agencies across the country down to their very core. Many authorities call it one of the most frightening and overwhelming gun battles in United States history. For 44 terrifying minutes, two figures equipped with modified firearms and gear unleashed chaos and warfare on a bustling metropolitan neighborhood. Hundreds of outgunned police officers were pinned down, overwhelmed, and left utterly powerless to stop the mayhem and destruction. Entire apartment blocks morphed into combat zones as the community was turned upside down. The shocking militant firepower and improvised armor of Phillips and Matasareanu enabled them to hold an entire city under siege and resist every attempt to halt their attack. This devastating event exposed glaring weaknesses in police armaments, training, coordination, and response capabilities. But ultimately, the human spirit persevered in the face of fear and danger. The community gradually came together in resilience and resolve during the long healing process. Hard lessons were learned about preparation for worst-case scenarios. Order was eventually restored from the smoke and chaos of that tragic February Los Angeles morning. However, the terror inflicted will never be forgotten and is a critical reminder that the past was the worst.